Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the final program of our three-part series on professional development. My name is Leon Lazarus from the U.S. Embassy, and I want to thank the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors again for partnering with us to organize an incredible three-part series over this week. If you guys have not tuned in to the other two programs, you're missing out. Definitely look on our Facebook, definitely look on our YouTube channels, and you'll be able to find them there. On Monday, we had Jamila Hollingsworth from the HR Boss in Barbados, and Dwayne Henriksen, who's the CARICOM Youth Ambassador from St. Kitts and Nevis, to talk about being succinct and successful, tips for resume writing. And then on Wednesday, we had Tiffany Jones from the Job Connect and Chad Monnerville, who is the CARICOM Youth Ambassador for Barbados, on prep and practice, tips for the interview. And today, we're going to end with the new normal, marketing yourself in 2020. And we have an incredible group of experts to talk about this awesome program. The first person is Tashatha Jeffrey. Tashatha is the CARICOM Youth Ambassador for Barbados, as well as lead writing consultant for Jot and Tittle, a writing consultancy that provides editing, technical writing, and coaching services for academic and corporate clients. She's also Senior Marketing and Communications Officer for The Nation Publishing, which is the largest newspaper in Barbados. Tashatha has a master's in science in forensic linguistics from Aston University and a bachelor's degree in linguistics from the University of the West Indies. I highly recommend, and I actually already put it on our Facebook Live, I highly recommend an article that she published a few years ago, but is still so relevant today, about how the movie Black Panther and Rihanna's Fenty Beauty effectively used everyday brand ambassadors to build their brand quickly. Now, joining Tashatha today is Corey McLean. Corey is an entrepreneur, marketer, and coach at the Brand Lab, which builds brands from the ground up, and he's been doing it for more than a decade. A graduate of the UE Cave Hill Business Management Program, he is the host of an entrepreneurship web show called Refuel, where he chats with entrepreneurs and creatives about the secrets of their success. He also started Treppin' Out and Trep Fest, which are two initiatives aimed at providing spaces for entrepreneurs to connect, share, and grow together. And he's also a facilitator in the Lean Launchpad program at the UE Cave Hill School of Business, which helps early stage startups. And of course, he is an entrepreneur in and of himself because he's the founder of Sips Smoothie Bar, which is known for its unmistakably bright orange mobile cafes. And also check out an article that was written by him too on our Facebook Live as well. And so without further ado, I give the floor to both of you. Take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be speaking about how to market yourself in this new environment that we have because of COVID, but also outside of COVID, and how to really capitalize on all the opportunities that you have available to you as a person, and how to ensure that your personal brand is what you want it to be and that it's effective. So you can go to the next slide, please. So just to give you an overview of what we'll touch on today, we're going to be looking at identifying and capitalizing on opportunities. We're going to look at personal branding. We'll talk about your online brand and how to market yourself online, and we'll also look at networking. Now, one of the things I want you all to keep in mind as you listen to this presentation is that your brand changes over time. So how to market yourself is going to change over time as well. As you gain new qualifications, as you learn new things, as you switch careers, as you get a new degree, et cetera, who you are as a person is going to continuously evolve. That's what you should be working towards and working for. So because of that, the things that we are talking about today are going to be useful within this context, but we also understand that they're dynamic, they're going to change, they're going to shift, and they're going to move. So think about what we're saying, but also think about how you can apply it at every step of your evolution as an individual. Next. Go ahead. So we're going to look at identifying and capitalizing on opportunity. So obviously, you're online right now. Most people, not everyone, but most people have access to the internet either at home or through school, work, etc. So how do you really utilize the internet to your advantage? Well, we think there are three specific things that you should pay attention to. Make sure that when you're on social media, you're following individuals and organizations that are in your field of interest or your area of interest. This means that you'll be kept up to date on the latest developments in whatever you're doing. So if you are a crocheter, for example, you want to make sure that you're following people who crochet as well. You're going to want to make sure that you're following brands that offer yarn. Anybody who is in any way, shape, or form connected to your field, you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to them and that you're part of that online community and online space. You also want to follow pages that share knowledge and share information. They post tutorials, they post informational content, whether it's about, again, the field that you're in or the field that you're interested in, or just general everyday things. Learn something new. You know, you should be learning something new every single day. And one of the ways to make sure that you as a brand, you as a person continuously evolves is to continuously learn, continuously gain knowledge. So that's one of the ways that you can capitalize on opportunities. And another thing is that a lot of these pages will post opportunities. So they may post scholarship opportunities, they may post job opportunities, they may post the ability to attend a session or something like that. So you want to make sure that you're staying up to date, which brings me to my next point, that you should attend as many virtual forums and sessions as you can. Now, you don't have to attend every single one, but definitely the ones that pertain to what you're doing. And look for the free stuff, guys. There's a lot of free stuff online, like this series that we've been having. So pay attention to it. Sign up. Take the time out of your day to connect with individuals online and to connect with knowledge sharing platforms as much as you possibly can, especially now because a lot of people are offering free information online because of what's been happening to the world because of COVID, and it's a new way to learn and connect with other people. Next. So when we're back and we can go outside again fully, we want you guys to network. Attend as many professional events as you can. Go to workshops, go to brunches, go to seminars and conferences. Make your face known in these spaces where you want to be part of, whether it's in academia, whether it's in the professional field, whether it's in a technical vocation, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that everyone who's part of that space knows you and knows your face and knows your name and can say, wait, I've definitely seen him or her at the brunch we had last week and the seminar we had last year and the conference we're having, where we had last month. So make sure that people know your face. A lot of times, sometimes there are the conferences and such may cost, but one of the tactics that I've utilized is I like to write to the organizers and say I'm a student, or when I was a student, I'm a student and I can't afford the fee that you have, but I'm really interested and I'd still like to come. And it got me into a lot of spaces because people are excited when young people are excited about learning and about knowledge. So you can use that tactic if you can't afford everything. Just reach out to the organizers and see if they'll allow you to come for free or for a largely discounted rate. I'm telling you, it works. Make sure to join an organization or association as well. If you are, again, a crocheter, join the Crocheters of America. Make sure that you're part of the professional organization that deals with your area of interest. As Leland mentioned, I have a master's in forensic linguistics, and I'm a part of the International Association of Forensic Linguists. And I get emails and I get invitations to conferences and I get access to our journal before the public does. And it really does help with me keeping abreast of forensic linguistics and the forensic linguistics space. So make sure that you join an association or an organization and volunteer. I definitely suggest that everyone volunteers because when you volunteer, people get to know you, but people also understand that you have a willingness to serve and people are willing to help people who are willing to help others. So I definitely suggest find a volunteer organization in your community, in your country, wherever you are. Make sure that you become a volunteer and give back to your community at every step of your personal development. So some must-haves that we want you guys to think about You definitely need to have a professional email address, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Make sure you have an updated resume or CV. If you missed the first session that Jamila and Dwayne did, it is still available on the US Embassy's Facebook page. Make sure to go back and check it out. They're going to be talking about why you need an updated resume or why you need an updated CV, and it's a really good session, and we suggest that as well. You can also have business cards so that you can just slip someone your information. Virtual business cards also exist as well, so you can just send someone that via email or whatever platform you're utilizing, and it gives people a snapshot of who you are, of what you do, of how to get in contact with you after they've met you. And please have an updated LinkedIn profile. Your profile on LinkedIn is really important, especially in this environment. That's a lot of times where people find you. People might meet you and they may not necessarily know everything about you from the conversation, but as you're walking away, they're Googling you, and you want the first thing they see to be your updated LinkedIn profile. So those are some must-haves that we definitely think every professional, every entrepreneur, every student should have and make use of as part of building your personal brand and being a good self-marketer.
So we're going to touch on personal branding now. Next slide. So what is a brand? Let's start there. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's basically the impression that people, the public, the audience has of you. Next. When we think of brands, however, we tend to think of the big dogs in the game. We think of the Coca-Colas and the Amazons. We think of Starbucks and Louis Vuitton. I mean, I'm an Audi guy, so I think of Audi always, right? But what is personal branding? Let's go to the next and find out. Personal branding is strategically marketing an individual, right? The next one, we are CEOs of our own companies, and this is a mindset. This is a mindset reset. Think of yourself as me Inc. You're in business. Your most important job is to be the head marketer for the brand called you. That's from Tom Peters. And in branding, and this is business brands, this is personal brands, perception is reality. Whatever your audience perceives is what is real and what matters. So there are three pillars of personal branding. They're one, who are you? Two, what do you look like, which is your identity? And three, your visibility. So let's touch on the first one. Who are you? Who are you refers to your expertise, the value that you provide, and the target. Target is who do you provide this value for? And all of that is bottled up in your expertise. And I'd always say, be an expert in one thing. Whatever that one thing is, that is the one thing that you get to be known for. Any successful branding program, any successful brand is in the minds of their prospects or their audience, the only one like it, the only one that can solve the problem or fill the need that I have. So like I said, I'm an Audi guy. You guys are going to get to know me a little bit today. And when I think of a car that expresses who I want to be at my ultimate self, I think of Audi. That's just how it is, right? I don't think of any other cars. I mean, they all get you from point A to point B, but in my world, an amazing car is an Audi. That's just how it is. Next. Your identity. Your identity, like we said, this is what you look like. Your identity tends to be all the things that are visual, memorable, and discoverable about yourself. Next. Now, if you ever played a video game, one of the most important parts of playing this video game is choosing your avatar. That's where you choose which character you're going to be. You know, what do they look like? Their weapons, their strengths, how long can they take a hit? And you want to think of it the same way as you build your personal brand. You want to ask yourself a few questions. Next. How does this person dress? Imagine yourself as, you know, your ultimate self. How does this person dress? What colors represent you? So for me, I think I'm a pretty cool, pretty well-dressed guy. But I also believe that Brian Corey is approachable, knowledgeable, but very, very approachable. So take a look at what I'm wearing right now. I'm channeling my best Idris Elba with my jacket, but I'm still rocking it with a V-neck because I'm a cool guy, right? So all of that goes into who is Corey. In terms of color, I tend to wear black most days. I mean, no, I'm not afraid of colors. I wear all the bright stuff, but professional Corey tends to wear black. It might be a black V-neck, it might be a black T-shirt, it might be a black polo, or what my personal favorite, it might be a black button down with my sleeves rolled, because that's just how I roll. Next. So after you go through all of that, sometimes that results in you going to work wearing a giant mouse head. This guy is Dead Mouse. He's an electronica DJ, and this is who his brand is. He wears a giant mouse head to go to work every day. And that works for him because that tells his customers, his onlookers, all the other people in the audience who he is as a person. Obviously, he doesn't take himself very seriously. And that's cool. So another component of your identity is your verbal identity, the types of words that you use. And me personally, I tend to lean more to a casual, very conversational, friendly tone, but I definitely speak in English, the standard English language. Um, Good buddy of mine, DJ Simmons, he runs a business called Gain On Magazine. He, as part of his brand, speaks in Bajan dialect because when you own a business that literally asks the question, what going on? You can't be speaking perfect English. It's much more on brand for you to speak in Bajan dialect. Next one. Visibility. Who sees you and where? So Leland put up a few things that Tashatha and I have done. He talks about, where we go, what we've done. He put up a few articles that we've written, and that this is where you get to decide where are you next. It might be a blog next, social media, or are you going to the same networking events that Tashatha mentioned earlier? So you want to think about who you are and who you want to be seen by. What are the circles that you want to run in, for lack of a better word? So the question is, why is personal branding important? Personal branding helps you to stand out from the crowd. It distinguishes you from the competition. For example, so Leland said that I've been building brands for 10 years. That's true. And I've been asking the same question in almost every session. So this is hundreds of people have asked this question too. What toothpaste brand did you brush your teeth with this morning? And in 10 years, I've gotten no more than 5 responses. Even though there's more than 50 toothpaste brands throughout the world, including all the hipster things like tooth powders and activated charcoal and this and that. Out of all of this, I've gotten a total maximum of 5. Why is that? Because these brands are top of mind. When you walk into the supermarket and you're faced with a wall of options, the one that you choose is the one that immediately jumps out at you, the one that's already in your mind, the one that has the strongest brand. So, and the next question would be, if I were to ask you, what is a perfect type of running shoe for me as a beginner? 9 times out of 10, you're going to tell me Nike, because Nike has the strongest brand.
So let's talk about how to market yourself online, because we're in a new environment and being online is really, really important. So social media. There are some people who are not on social media, and everyone has the ability to make those choices. But most of us are on social media. And social media is not only a place where we share memes and watch funny cat videos. It's also a place where we interact with other people, where we can learn and where we can share knowledge. So if you're on social media, your social media presence, you can use it as part of building that personal brand and as part of marketing who you are. You can share and gain knowledge. If you're someone who, like Corey, for example, Corey has a lot of knowledge regarding branding. And so on his Instagram page, on the Brand Led's Instagram page, he actually shares that knowledge for his Instagram followers for free. So he shares little tidbits, things that people can utilize in their own everyday life. And so what that does is that sets Corey up as a knowledge provider. It sets Corey up as someone who knows a lot about branding that people can see that when they go to his Facebook page or his Instagram page. Corey, so as I mentioned, so you want to set yourself up as someone who shares knowledge, but you also want to gain knowledge. The internet is a great place to learn as much as you can, and social media allows you to have that type of interaction where you learn and you share. So it helps you to stay current on world events as well. A lot of us utilize social media to get our news. A lot of us utilize social media to find out what's happening in the world. And it's really, really great source to just stay up to date. Staying up to date on what's going on around you helps you to remain relevant. It helps you to make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best possible ways. It means that you can have conversations with people at those networking events that we mentioned that will show people that you know what's going on around you and you don't necessarily just live in a bubble. And that's really important in making sure that you're somebody that people think is knowledgeable, you're somebody that people think has relevant information to share and that they can gain knowledge from. You can also engage with your followers and those that you follow. If you post something and you want feedback from that and people comment on it, respond to those comments, respond to the DMs that you get once they're kosher, respond to the comments that you get, talk to people in your immediate community and engage with the individuals that you follow as well. Ask them questions, go in their DMs, respond to their queries, get yourself known within that online space. And then you can interact with the wider community. So it may not necessarily be someone that you have interactions with on a daily basis, but you can find people outside of the small community that you have in a larger global community. You can find them through social media and through their social media presence. Next. So social media platforms are also really, really important, but I will suggest that you don't have to be on every single platform. Choose wisely. Now, I am not on TikTok. I just turned 30, and in my personal opinion, I'm too old for TikTok. That's just me. I'm not saying everybody over 30 is too old for TikTok, but too old for TikTok, plus I can't dance. So it's not, it's not gonna work, but you have to know who you are, you have to know what platforms to choose. So I have 3 considerations that I think everyone should use when they're trying to find out which social media platform to engage with. You want to think about who is on that social media platform. You're looking at the users, their demographics, their age, their gender, their location, the things that they like to do. Are they studying? Are they professionals? All of that information is important because you want to know, do I fit within that category? But also, especially if you're a business owner or you're looking to be someone who's in the information sharing space, you want to know that your target audience can be found on that site. So Facebook, for example, has mostly older users, whereas TikTok has mostly younger users. So if you're looking for young people, obviously you're going to head your way towards TikTok because that's where your target audience is. Whereas if you're looking for an older crowd, Facebook would be the best platform to use. You're also going to think about what types of content you'll be sharing. TikTok, again, to use that as an example, is mostly videos, or it is only videos. So if you know that you're someone who can come up with ideas for videos, you have a device that you can record the videos on and edit them, TikTok is going to be perfect. But if you have a lot of content, if you have a lot of written content, Facebook may be best because Facebook allows you to share posts, it allows you to write long captions on your photos, or LinkedIn might also be a good platform for you to utilize. And then you're going to think about why you want to be on that platform. Are you selling? Are you networking? Are you learning? What exactly will you be doing on that platform? And as part of that strategy can help you find out which platform you should make the most use of and be part of. Next. So when you're on social media or when you're online in general, you really want to strike a balance between fun and professional. So you want to share articles, for example, about, astrophysics, something that's new in science or math or linguistics. But you also want to know that you can be yourself, that you can be cool, that you can share your memes, so you want to find that balance. And again, social media platforms, some are more suited to certain types of content than others. So you're not necessarily going to share a meme on LinkedIn every day, but LinkedIn is a really great place to share heavier articles that people really have to delve into, and content that people really have to think about. But also you can be yourself in doing so. It's definitely important to not create a brand that is so far removed from who you actually are that you can't keep it up. People want authenticity. People want to know that you are being your authentic self. And so if your authentic self is sharing a heavy article today and sharing a funny meme tomorrow, then that's who you can be. Now, the general rule of thumb that I always suggest is that you stay away from cursing, violence, and sexual references. As I mentioned earlier, nothing on the internet is private at all. So even if you choose to have a private profile, people can still screenshot, people can still share information around. So you just want to make sure that while you're building your brand, while you're building who you are, you stay away from things that can be heavily controversial, because that can really negatively affect your brand. Now, that does not mean that you can't stand up for the things that you believe in. Absolutely. If you believe in something, you stick to your guns, but just make sure that you're doing so in a way that comes across as, again, authentic, but is not abrasive or aggressive or harsh. So that is just a general rule of thumb to think about when you're posting things on your social media pages. So when you think about emails, I know a lot of people no longer use emails. They prefer Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs, but emails are still a really important way of communicating. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you want a professional email address. Your name is best, and if you have a business, you can use your business name as your email address. Also, think about creating an email signature. An email signature has your name, your organization, your qualifications, and your contact details. And it's kind of an online business card. And so whenever you email someone, they get a quick snapshot of who you are. They understand your qualifications. They know how they can reach you. They know your name. They know what organization you're affiliated with. And so that's something you can use on email. That's just that subtle extra oomph when it comes to branding yourself. Also, use emails to reach out to the contacts that you made at those networking events. So when you go to a networking event and you meet someone, send them an email afterward and say, I'm happy to have spoken with you. It was great to meet you, et cetera, and you can use emails to your advantage for that. WhatsApp is also a really good branding tool. Again, we can talk about sharing memes on WhatsApp. You can also, if you're interested in cricket, for example, and you're watching the World Series, you can talk about that. And people will say, oh, wow, I didn't know that he or she was interested in cricket, but they get that snapshot into your life. So you can use your statuses to show your personality and help you to build that brand that people see of you. Also respond to other people's statuses. If someone mentions something that you think is important, if someone mentions something that you think is funny, just shoot them an emoji, shoot them a thumbs up or a smile or something. It helps you to engage with the people on your contact list. One thing that I definitely would suggest is do not add people to broadcast lists without their permission. There are a few things more cringe-inducing than waking up to a random generic message when you know you did not sign up to receive one. So you definitely want to make sure that if you are someone who's sharing knowledge, if you have a business, you want to ask people before you add them to any broadcast lists. And if you want to make sure that you can share your little memes or your funny things and not have everybody see them, WhatsApp status privacy settings are a really good tool to use for that. Webinars and online sessions, I think, are one of the biggest ways in which you can utilize the internet and what's going on right now to develop your personal brand. My number one suggestion would be to sign up for it. Now, you're not going to sign up for everything, every single thing. If you're into linguistics, you don't necessarily want to sign up for the life and times of a construction worker because you're not in construction. Corey worked in construction, so it may be something that he's interested in, but I That's not something that I would necessarily take part in. But you definitely want to sign up for as many webinars as possible that are within your scope of interest or that you think would be helpful as it pertains to that knowledge gaining and to learning as much as possible. So when you're in a webinar, you can engage the facilitators and participants. So you type in the chat, you respond to questions, you ask questions, and that's another great way of having people know your name and having people know who you are. And if you sign up for this webinar series, for example, and you asked a question on Monday and you asked a question on Wednesday and you ask a question today, that means that those of us who are looking at the comment section, if we see your name somewhere else, it might raise, your profile in our mind in terms of, oh, that name came up when we were doing the webinar series. And so this is someone that we have encountered already, and it may help make that process of networking much more smooth. And also take notes. The reason that you're on these online sessions is not just to say that you're on them. It's actually to make sure that you're learning things. So take notes about what the facilitators speak about. You never know when that information can come in handy, and you never know when it can be something that it pops up in the middle of the night and you're looking for a solution and you didn't know that something you learned at a webinar 3 months ago was going to come back to you and be useful.
So we said it more than once. We said network, network, network. We talked about going to networking events. And we kind of understand the importance of and value of networking in the real world, but the rules apply the same way in the online space. Next. A network is a connected community of professionals with related business interests. Basically, that's a group of people who have some kind of interest in similar things. And there's some advantages to that. There's career development. You can find new clients or jobs. You can find your next mentors and build relationships. Next. But we think about along the lines of building a wall, right? You want to think of who you're trying to network with. So who are you trying to network with? Is it the general population or is it people within your industry that you're trying to find? When you go to these networking sessions, you want to have an elevator pitch. You want to be able to introduce yourself succinctly and well, in a short, snappy way. So I say, hi, I'm Corey. I am a brand architect. That opens the door for you to ask me, so Corey, what is a brand architect? And that starts the conversation and starts the relationship between the two of us. Now, when you're having a conversation, you want to listen as well as talk. No one likes a person that only talks. And you don't want to just be listening for a space to stick in your next response. You want to listen to what the other person is saying. And when you leave the networking event, like Tushata said, follow up with an email. Hey, it was really cool to meet you. And that thing that we were talking about, this is a link to whatever it was interesting that came up in the conversation. So you go through this entire process. You built this large network of people that know you and know your name and know what you do. But it's time to create some leverage. How do we do this? It's be leveraging the concept of 6 degrees of separation. Basically, all people in the world are 6 or fewer social connections away from each other, which means, like I said, right now I'm channeling my best Idris Elba. It means that within me knowing 6 people that know 6 people that know 6 people, me and Idris Elba, we're in the same network. How do we do this? Because everyone in your network should know what it is that you do and be able to recommend you for that. Tashatha can recommend me because we know each other. We're in the same circle. We're in the same network. She knows what I do. I know what she does. And as such, I can recommend her to someone that says, hey, Corey, you wouldn't happen to know a really cool linguist, do you? I say, you know what? By the way, I do. So you want to think of your network as a resource library for information. If someone needs a specialist in something, you want to be able to say, hey, I know how to get you what you need. I can make that connection between you and them. Just yesterday, I got a message on LinkedIn from a person in my network who was looking for a person who could potentially connect them with a brand or a business in Europe. Do I know such a person? Maybe not, but my response was, let me put my ear to the ground and see if there is someone in my network who can do that. So you may not even know the person offhand, but remember 6 degrees of separation. I may know someone that knows that person. Okay? And networking is a two-way street. Next. So it's not simply a matter of you trying to harvest as much value from your network as possible and have as many people have your business card as possible, but you also want to provide value to the same network. So like I said, when a contact reaches out and says, Corey, I need such and such, or I'm trying to find such and such, do you know? Then I'm feeding my network by providing value back to the network. So online, we want to go beyond just likes and we actually want to leave a comment. Now, this is an article that was written by a good buddy of mine, Ron Johnson. And my comment to him, hey, this is an excellent piece, Ron. I agree with the idea of breaking and rebuilding your business model constantly, even though I think that a business should do this gradually in order to keep the pace with the blah, 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 blah. Why is this important? Because on LinkedIn specifically, when you make a comment, everyone that is reading that article or is looking at that post or that thread, they'll see your name. But even more, they'll see your title. They'll see what it is that you do, and that then allows for another impression on the minds of people seeing you. And there may be people who are outside of your direct circle or your direct network. But again, 6 degrees of separation. This is some person that knows Ron that is viewing my comment on his post. If they find me interesting now, then they can connect with me. And a good comment is relevant. It's relevant to what it is that the post or the article or whatever has, and it offers some kind of value. And then it goes even further and it continues the conversation. So the comment that I put on Ron's post, yes, it was relevant. It was talking about what was in his article. It offered some value. And then it went even further, says, I agree, but I believe that. So now a person that's viewing you or even same Ron can see, okay, I understand what Corey thinks. I understand what Corey believes. And this then helps to build a relationship between the two of us. Now, in the world that we live in, this new normal, where it's less likely that you're at as many networking events, meeting as many strangers and shaking hands, e-introductions is honestly a real thing. I'll tell you a story. I got a message from a contact that I have who lives in London, and she sent the message to connect me to a contact of hers that she also met online, by the way, who lives in China, because this person reached out to her and they wanted to get in contact with persons in the Caribbean who work with startups within the diaspora. So she understanding and knowing what it is that I do and my contact with so many entrepreneurs and startups, she decided, you know what, the best person to connect her to is Corey. So hence, we were introduced. Two people who probably would never have met, two people who were on opposite sides of the planet, were put together in this electronic space. And that is really how you want to that's one of the things that is possible. You can do these things, you can make connections online. Going next, cultivating relationships. At the end of the day, being online is not a foreign thing. It works on the same principles as being offline. And simply, when you're out of sight, you are out of mind. If someone doesn't see you or see anything about you or hear anything from you, they're not going to think of you when it's time to answer that person that says, I need a whatever. So you want to be visible and you want to offer value. And that's it. Are there any questions? We are here for it.
That was amazing. Thank you. What's going on? Okay, we're good. All right, we are good with the screens. I did want to ask a few questions. Anybody who has any sort of questions, can you guys please sort of put them on Facebook right now? Here's your time to ask your questions to Shatha and Corey. So if you have any questions, now is the time to put it on our Facebook. Well, we've got one question from Tiffany Jones, who was with us on Wednesday. Tiffany asks, what are some platforms that people can e-meet each other?
I mean, we've been beating the LinkedIn horse all day, and LinkedIn is so powerful because it is a captive professional environment. People on LinkedIn are there to meet other professionals. They're there to see who they can connect with, and they are willing to connect with people who they may never even meet in real life. So LinkedIn, very, very powerful tool. But even going beyond that, all social media are good options. What tends to happen for me is I look at various components of my life, different aspects of my life, and I find that the more things that I'm involved with, the more people I meet. And I find that even you have a richer experience when you meet someone in a non-professional capacity, and then you now have a deeper relationship with them when it comes to a professional situation.
Now, going off on that, actually, I have a follow-up question, which is, I think traditionally, when you're thinking of building a brand and you have your company, of course, you have people that you can ally with, other companies you can ally with, but you're also looking at your competitors, right? And so to what extent should you be commenting on your competitors' spaces? How do you make that delicate balance of collaborating, but also making sure that you are the person in that space, you're not sort of giving space to your competitors? Is that even a concern?
I think it matters less when you know what your brand is and you know what your value proposition is. So there are a lot of other linguists who I interact with online, but I have carved out a really specific place for myself as a linguist within the linguistic space that I inhabit online. And so I'm not necessarily afraid to engage with other linguists or speak with them or ask them questions or answer questions, because I know that if anybody wants specific information on Caribbean linguistics or Creole linguistics, I'm the person that they come to. And that's because I know that I have cultivated that, I have studied, I do my reading, I continue to stay up to date on topics within that area and within that space. So if you know what your value proposition is, not only as an entrepreneur, but as just a person, as someone who's marketing themselves, if you know what you bring to the table that no one else has, if you know what that unique selling point is that you have, you don't have to worry about whether or not anybody else has competition. The only competition is you. The only competition is continuously getting better and better and better. So when you have that niche carved out for yourself, you can comment on everybody else's page, but people are still going to know you, and people are still going to come to you because they know you're the only person that offers what you offer.
Very interesting. Next question is from Tia Lewis. And her question is, what advice would you give to people who are introverted and shy and don't really know how to spark a conversation with somebody? I guess in building your brand online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So I don't know, because I think neither Tashaka or I technically count as introverts, but I do have some really good friends who are introverts. So I've studied them, right? What I'll say is, don't try to be extroverted. Don't try to be somebody else. You are who you are and you have your value, yeah? So if you're at an event, what I'll say is maybe try to meet one person that you didn't know when you came to the event, or if you go and you have a buddy that can help, that can buffer, that can help to bridge the gap between you and all the people that you don't know. And it's just a matter of getting into a conversation with one person. And from there, you may be able to build a relationship there, or at least become known within that space. Because at the end of the day, it's not about quantity. It's much more about the depth of the relationship that you can build. So it's not just about how many people know your name or how many people have your business card, but it is how many people do you have access to.
Yeah, agreed.
How many people you have access to? That's great words. Another question is from Jamila Walton, and she's asking about whether LinkedIn is beneficial to people in the Caribbean to use locally. She knows that it's used greatly in North America, but how much is it used in the Caribbean?
It's definitely becoming more of a tool that Caribbean people are wielding. One of the biggest influencers, I don't know if you would call people on LinkedIn influencers like you do with Instagram, but one of the biggest voices on LinkedIn is actually from Trinidad. And so you don't have to be in North America to leverage the power of LinkedIn. And another great thing that LinkedIn does is it allows you to connect with people in other parts of the world. So you can be in Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, and be known for, if you're a lawyer, for example, or if you're, again, going back to my crocheting example, if you're a crocheter, and you can connect with people throughout the world who are in that same field. But then you can also take advantage of the fact that we're in a CARICOM space, and you can utilize the fact that we're all, within one single space as CARICOM people to connect with other people from the OECS, from CARICOM, et cetera, et cetera. So I think sometimes we think that because something originated elsewhere, we can't utilize it effectively. But what are Caribbean people, if not people who like to Jones and get together and connect and interact and move? We do that every year at carnivals and crop over. So why can't we take that and transition it to an online space? So definitely have a LinkedIn, use it to connect with people that you know in person, yes, but also use it to reach out to individuals. And I know people who have gotten jobs. A friend of mine works in Cayman now because she was on LinkedIn and she was headhunted by a financial firm in the Cayman Islands. So definitely, as Caribbean people, we can benefit from it just as much as people elsewhere.
No, I love LinkedIn. Actually, I think I had used LinkedIn in order to get in touch with the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors. So it's a great resource. And I think sometimes people are actually more willing to respond on LinkedIn than opposed to just sending their to their email or anything like that. So absolutely important.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another question. What if you're known, either you or your company is known for one thing, but you really want to transition and sort of tell your customers about just other opportunities that you offer? So I'm asking this because this is actually an issue that we have very often at the U.S. Embassy, right? I mean, everybody thinks, when they think U.S. Embassy, they think visas, right? And we are so much more than just visas. I mean, we offer these exchange programs, we offer these entrepreneurship programs. And so how would you suggest, really capitalizing and sort of transitioning the brand, which is known for one thing, and really transitioning it to another?
At the basic level, I'd say you start with awareness. It may be that the public perception is so heavily geared in one direction because that's been ingrained for such a long time. What that means then is that you now need to start producing the content that backs this up. So your new direction, you get to talk about it. What is it? Do you know that we do such and such? And then reach out to individual people. Hey, Tashata, do you know that the U.S. Embassy does such and such? Hey, Corey, do you know that the U.S. Embassy does such and such? Then go even deeper. Who are the people that you want to know what it is that you're doing? And then go directly to maybe member organizations. LinkedIn Local Barbados, I see Clara is talking about it. You want to go maybe to the BCSI, you want to go to the Chamber of Commerce, you want to go to these people and you'd be like, you know what? This is some of the other stuff that we do. Yes, we still do visas and we're great at it, but we do all this other stuff as well. And this is how we have these how we create value, and this is how you can leverage us in a different way.
Tushata, anything to add?
I completely agree with Corey. I think another thing too is setting yourself up as a place where people can come for information. So as you mentioned, the U.S. Embassy does visas, yes, but you also have education fairs and you also do seminars like this. So I think once people get an idea, or once one person knows that, oh, the U.S., I can go on the U.S. Embassy's Facebook page and watch a lunchtime lecture once a month. Once they get that in their head, then they tune in, they tell other people. So I think a lot of people like to learn. People like to find information. So if you can set yourself up as a knowledge sharing space, or a space where people know that they can consistently get access to information and opportunities, I think that is super useful as well. So it's not just necessarily about, as you mentioned, being this one thing, but showing that you are this one thing, but you're so many other things as well.
Very interesting. Now, I got a question from one of my colleagues, which is, what are some of the most common mistakes young professionals make when branding themselves for the very first time online? And how can they avoid some of those pitfalls?
I would say thinking that there's no such thing as branding yourself, or not knowing how important it is to brand yourself. I think sometimes we think that who we are in one space is just who we are in that space, and that's it, not understanding that we are the sum of all of our parts. So who I am at work, who I am as an entrepreneur, who I am as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador, who I am as just, when I'm with my friends, all of that translates into who Tushata Jeffrey is as the brand. So if you're a young person and you're thinking that this part of your life is going to stay separate from the professional or academic part that you're trying to cultivate, you're wrong. And now that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that it should be something that people should be ashamed about. I inject humor into my professional life all the time. If you find me on Instagram or on Facebook, I post stuff that's heavy, and I post stuff that's about current world events and that we should be thinking about and we should be trying to do better about as human beings. But I love a good meme, so I share those too. So it's really about understanding that every part of you is going to be part of what makes up you as a brand and how you market yourself, and leveraging those parts to work together, and not trying to be somebody that you're not trying to make it seem as if you're X when you're really A. So that's really important. And I think everybody should think about it, and being that authentic person and cultivating who you are. Yes, cultivating it, but making sure that you don't lose yourself or become somebody else or portray a different identity in doing so.
I want to add on to that. I remember when I was quite a bit younger, I remember a mentor that I had once, he commented on my quote unquote professionalism. And what he was basically, the lesson he was teaching me in that moment was that people are people, and you don't necessarily have to be overly formal with people. The many more doors will open to you when you are a genuine person who wants to connect with another person. I remember he would call another business, talk to a person he's never met, never spoken to before, and he's like, "Hey, good morning, how are you doing? Are you having a great day?" Yes. And then and from the time he puts you at ease, he disarms you. So now you're willing to do things for him. You're willing to give him whatever he called for, as opposed to him calling and he's, "Yes, good morning, I need," and it's like, no, that's not gonna happen. So be yourself. And just remember that at the other end of a business is a person.
In the business, there's always a person. Could you guys share any maybe examples in which you guys, maybe when you first started out, you had some pitfalls, and how did you bounce back?
I was telling Corey yesterday when we were running through this that who I am on social media now is very different from who I used to be on social media about 5 years ago. I was always in some type of contention with somebody, always in some type of discussion that turned into 500 comments. And that's just who I was. I just was like, I'm right and you're wrong. And as I grew and matured and thankfully had people in my life who were willing to say, listen, you're doing too much. You're doing the most. It really helps me to shift my perspective. And so a lot of the things that I used to talk about, I'm still super solid in my belief about those things. I still believe in a lot of the things that I used to argue about, but now I'm not interested in arguing. Now I'm interested in sharing knowledge. Now I'm interested in being someone who helps to add to the education space. I'm interested in being someone who people feel like they can speak to and ask a question of. And so it's not, for me, it's no longer about being Tershatha, the bombastic person on social media. It's really about being Tershatha, the person who has these beliefs. And we know that she has these beliefs, but she's definitely somebody that you can ask a question of now. And it's not going to devolve into a social media fight. And so it was a difficult thing to hear that was the presence that I had, that was part of who I was as a brand or as a person. But it was a journey that I'm happy that I went on, because now when I see other people kind of going down that path, or when people come to me and ask me a question about it, I can say, okay, here's the difficult process that I had to go through. And I'm still going through it. It's not perfect. I'm still learning every day. I'm still getting better. But that's definitely something I think that I went through, and that I'm happy that I'm now coming out on the other side of. And I think it was a really necessary learning experience, and it has positioned me now to be in spaces that I don't think I would have been able to be in before. And so you can always grow and learn and change. And once you're breathing, there's the ability to become a better person and the ability to change your brand. As we mentioned at the beginning, your brand is something that's dynamic, and it's going to consistently change and continuously change. And you should take advantage of that. And as you become better, your brand also should become better.
For me, I guess when I first started in business, I was pretty young, and I know a lot of young people who are in business. One of the biggest hurdles that we tend to face is not being taken seriously by the business community, not being taken seriously by the public. And the one piece of advice that I have to everyone is, you know what? Just keep doing what you're doing. At the end of the day, results are what matter. And when people see the results, then they come around and they're not worried about, how old you are or whatever anymore. So that's the one thing that I had to get over in my early days, which was in fact that I was young and beautiful.
Well, we are almost out of time. So, do you guys have any last words for our audience?
Okay. Everyone has a brand, whether or not they play a role in cultivating that brand. Remember, perception is reality. So knowing that perception is reality, it's in your best interest to create a strategic perception of who you are.
Yeah. And definitely continue to evolve, continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to share. Make sure that you're somebody that people know is useful, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Stay relevant, stay on top of your game.
That's awesome. Tershatha, Corey, I want to thank you guys so much. This has been a wealth of information. I'm sure our audience has really enjoyed it. I want to thank the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors again for joining with us. This concludes the 3-part professional development series. It has been absolutely awesome and a pleasure. Yes, let us know what you thought of our professional development series by filling out the survey below. And I also want to highlight that tomorrow, for any students out there throughout the Eastern Caribbean, make sure to register for an upcoming Education USA virtual fair. That's going to be tomorrow, September 19th. And there are limited spaces, so definitely look it up. Guys, thank you so much. And I hope that you have a great day and a great weekend.